Hello everyone, this is the 8th lecture on the unit number 5 of mechanical measurement and metrology, and in this lecture we are going to continue with the torque measurement, and the topic of today is the resistance strain gauges. So the contents are the introduction to the resistance strain gauges, then we will be continuing with the types of the strain gauges. We will be checking out the briefs of all major strain gauges, and then we will be concentrating on the materials of the strain gauges. So let us start with the strain gauge introduction. As we have already learned in the previous session, a resistance strain gauge is basically what? It will be a wire or a resistive foil, okay, which is available over here, which will change its resistance whenever the strain is applied. Okay, so whenever the strain is going to be applied, it will change its dimensions. Okay, the strain will be applied on the wire also, and due to that, what is going to happen? If it is a positive strain, then the resistance is going to increase, and if it is a negative strain, and resistance is going to decrease. This is one of the most common changes that are going to occur. This is not for all the materials. Okay, for some materials this is going to be reverse also. Okay, so this is exactly what a strain gauge is. Now let us check out the types of strain gauges. A strain gauges can be categorized broadly into two parts. Very first, the unbounded type strain gauges, and second are the bounded type strain gauges. Now further, in the unbounded type we are having the metallic wire. In the bonded type we are having the metallic and the semiconductor strain gauges. If we continue further in the metallic strain gauges, there will be total 4 varieties. Very first is the flat grid type, second is the wraparound type, third is the etched foil type, and fourth is the woven type. So let us start with the bonded type strain gauges. In the bonded type strain gauges, we are going to concentrate on the metallic strain gauges first, then we will go towards the semiconductor strain gauges. So let us understand what exactly a bonded type strain gauges are. When we talk about bonded type or say bounded type, the name itself says that it is basically bounded to some material. Okay, and that material will be mostly an elastic material on which these strain gauges are basically bounded, and this type of strain gauges are most commonly used nowadays. When we talk about the bonded strain gauges, this type of strain gauges are basically bounded with the plastic with the help of some of the cemented materials. Okay, and this is basically a material which allows the strain gauge to move around flexibly. So whatever the test material we are having, on this test material the elastic film or say this particular elastic material, which is a backing material, it will be pasted. With it the strain gauge will be fixed. Okay, and the elastic material as well as the material with which it is going to be bonded, or say we can say bonding material, it will not resist the movement of this particular strain gauge, and it will allow the complete transfer of the tensile or compressive stress to the strain gauges. When we talk about this kind of bonded type strain gauges, they are most commonly used for the measurement of the small strains. Now let us talk about the categories of the bounded type strain gauges. Very first one is a flat grid type. Now in the flat grid type strain gauges, the wire is basically wound back and forth as a grid. That means if this is a backing material, the wire will go up and down. That means forth, back, forth, back. This is what is going to happen in this type of strain gauges, and the backing material of this one is normally a paper or any kind of epoxy, and with the help of a bonding agents, these wires are kept bounded with the backing material. Now, what is going to happen over here? With the measurement of the strain in the longitudinal direction, or say along the direction, this is also going to be affected with the transverse strain because of the section available on the top and the down over here. As you can observe, the direction of the wire is actually something like this over here, and this particular direction, this U bend, will actually also absorb the transverse trace, and due to that the change in resistance will happen. So that's why this will affected by the transverse strain also. The next one is the wrap around type strain gauges. Now in this type of strain gauges, the wires or say leads are basically wrapped around a paper tube. So what is going to happen? This is a material. Now on this material, the wire is going to start to wrap from the top like this. Then it will be returned from the back side. Once again, it will be wrapped on the top and it will return from the back side, wrapped from the top, return from the back side. So this is what is going to happen in the wrap around type of material. Now, what is the main situation over here? Let us understand. Very first, this is the first material. Secondly, we are having the wire on the top. Thirdly, we are having the wire on the back. And lastly, we are having one extra backing material also. So this is going to be a thick strain gauge. But secondly, the length of such kind of strain gauges are normally smaller than the grade types of the strain gauges. So most commonly, we are going to get the same resistance value for the smaller size compared to the flat grid type strain gauges. But due to the higher thickness of this type of strain gauges, what is going to happen? The higher hysteresis is going to be generated and higher grip is going to be generated. So this is what happens in the wrap around type strain gauges. Now let us check out the third one, the etched foil type strain gauges. If we know what is a foil, then we will be able to easily understand exactly what etched around foil type strain gauges. The strain gauge material actually is cut from a foil. So the active material of the strain gauge in this particular case will be cut from a foil. With the help of the photo etching technique, it will be fixed, or say it will be connected to the backing material. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. Now in this case, you will be able to observe that very firstly over here, this is a larger area when it comes to U-turn. In this case also, we are having a larger area when it comes to U-turn. So it will be very unsensitive to the transverse traces. So it is going to measure the strain in the only one direction. Secondly, in this area also we are having the thick material. In this area also we are having the thick materials. So all this area where the thick materials are going to be used, they are actually very insensitive to the strain. So what is going to happen? The resistance is not going to change in this area. And secondly, the heat transfer will be higher due to this larger area. So that is why the thermal stability of such kind of strain gauges are going to be high. And it is basically easier to connect the lead wire with the strain gauges due to the available shoulder strap and the larger areas. So this is what the benefit of the etched foil type strain gauges. The next one is the woven grid type strain gauges. Now very first, let us observe this material. This is basically a textile fabric. If you observe, there are two basic type of the material, or say two basic type of threads. First type of thread is known as the warp. Second is known as the weft. In this case, along with the weft material over here, the strain gauge wire is going to be connected, or it will be replaced with the weft material. And second end, the warp or say wrap is going to be as it is. So such kind of geometry will be generated in this case. Now, most of the time the Eureka wire is used. Now, what is a Eureka wire? A Eureka wire is basically a constant ton material, which is basically the copper nickel alloy, one of the most commonly used material for the resistance strain gauges. So such kind of materials are used in the woven grid type of the strain gauges. So this is the woven grid type strain gauges. Now let us move around the semiconductor category of the bounded strain gauges. So in the semiconductor type strain gauges, the gauges are basically produced in the wafer from the silicon or germanium crystals, in which the exact amount of the special purities such as borons are added to get the desired characteristics of the semiconductor strain gauges. Now, as we know, semiconductor can be of two types, the p-type semiconductor and the n-type semiconductor. When it comes to such kind of semiconductor, the p-type semiconductor will give you the positive changes in the resistance. That means the increase in the resistance whenever there is a positive strain is applied, and second type of one is going to give you the decrease in the resistance for the same. So semiconductor strain gauges are usually provided with the plastic or the stainless steel backing and are the bonded to the test surface with the same method that we are going to check out in the wire or foil type gauges. Okay, so there is no change in the bonding methodology, there is just change in the material of the strain gauges. Now, what are the benefits, or say what are the main advantages of such kind of strain gauges gives us? The very first advantage that it is going to give us is it is going to have the higher gauge factor and the sensitivity. So we are going to get the gauge factor about 100 to 200. You can observe this is the very high gauge factor. Secondly, when we talk about the sensitivity, there is no need of the amplification of the output as the sensitivity is very high, and this thing can be helpful for the measuring the dynamic strain as it has a very low hysteresis also, as well as it actually can be very helpful in the low strain measurement. This is one of the example of the semiconductor type strain gauge. As you can observe over here, these are the gold leads. Instead of the gold leads, we can also use the copper leads, but most probably the gold leads are used. And this is the semiconductor, and this one is the backing plate, or say base of this one on which they are bounded. Now the last one actually are the Rosette gauges. Now, what do we understand from the Rosette gauges? First of all, let us understand when we talk about the single strain gauge. Now the single strain gauge can only measure the strain in the single direction along the direction of the strain gauges. But if we want to measure the strain in two or more direction, in that case what we need to do, we need to actually apply the strain gauges, each strain gauge for the each direction. Okay, but instead of applying a separate strain gauge, we can actually use the set of Rosette gauges which are actually available in the multiple configuration. So these are three basic Rosette gauges which are most commonly used. Very first one is the rectangular type. Okay, as it is a rectangular, two strain gauges are actually applied or say bounded together at the 90 degree. The second one is the delta type. Okay, and third one is the T delta Rosette type. So these all are the Rosette gauges which are actually the combination of the various strain gauges in the different configuration. There are also some other configuration available, as you can see in this particular figure. There are star configuration, fan configuration, delta configurations available. Various kind of configuration are available in the Rosette gauges. So Rosette gauges are basically nothing but it is a combination of the strain gauges, various configuration of the strain gauges. Now let us understand about the unbounded strain gauges category. When we talk about the unbounded strain gauge category, the backing material which is available is not there in the unbounded strain gauges. So there will be only the strain gauge material available on the strain gauge. Okay, so let us check out one of the strain gauges which is in the unbounded category. Over here, as you can observe, there is a stationary frame available over here, and inside the stationary plate there is one moving armature available, which is actually going to displaced with the external force. Okay, so whenever the external force will be applied, the armature is going to move in the longitudinal direction or in this particular axial direction. Now, over this armature and the stationary frame, there are total 4 wires attached. The one end of the wire is actually fixed with the moving armature, and the second end, if you observe, for all the materials, it is going to be fixed with the stationary frame. Whenever this armature is going to displace in this particular direction, then the wires R1 and R4 is going to be under tension. So they will be basically resisting the movement of the moving armature and they will be under the tension. So what is going to happen? They are going to change its resistance. And the same thing, whenever the direction of this armature is going to change in this direction, in that case the wire R2 and R3 will be under the tension, R1 and R4 will be under the compression, and in this case, with the tension and the compression phenomenon, they are going to change their resistance. Okay, so this is what happens in the unbounded strain gauges. This is once again a new configuration where the force is going to be applied in the from the upside direction to downside, and this configuration will allow to measure such kind of forces. And all these forces are basically measured with the Wheatstone bridge circuit. Now let us check out the material that are actually used with the strain gauge. Now there are total 3 varieties of material that are used. Very first, the strain gauge material itself. So we are going to check out what kind of strain gauge materials that we are using. The second material is the backing material. We are just going to check out the properties of the backing material, and the third material that we use is the binding material to fix the strain gauge on this particular base. Now very first, let us check out the materials for the metallic strain gauges. Now all the electrical conductors actually the candidates for the strain gauge materials, because they actually produces the strain gauge effect, but to fulfill the requirement, some of the properties affect the most to the strain gauges, and those major properties are: very first, the gauge factor of that material; second, the resistance; third, the impact of the temperature; fourth one is the thermal coefficient of the resistivity; and fifth one is the stability of the material with the temperature. When we talk about the higher gauge factors, they are basically tends to have more compatible with the changes in the resistance, but against that they are more sensitive to the temperature and actually less stable than the lower gauge factor materials, and that is the reason why we have to keep the balance between gauge factor and all other properties. Now let us check out some of the most common materials that are basically used in the strain gauges. Very first material is the Constantan, which is basically a combination of the nickel and the copper, which is also known as the Eureka. Now this is the most commonly used for the wire strain gauge for the static strain measurement because of its low and controllable temperature coefficient. Now this basically exhibit properties like higher specific resistance, constant gauge factor over the wide strain range, and it is having a good stability over the wide temperature range. So we can use such kind of material for the range of 73.3 degrees Celsius to 283 degrees Celsius. And remember that this is one of the most commonly used material when it comes to static strain measurement. The second material is the Karma, which is basically a nickel chrome alloy with the precision forming additives. It basically provides the wider temperature compensation than the constant temp. The special treatment that is given to this particular alloy gives the minimum drift up to 316 degrees Celsius. The self temperature compensation characteristics are available up to the 427 degrees Celsius. The third alloy is basically the nichrome. Especially talking about the nichrome 5, it is a nickel chrome alloy which is most commonly used for the higher temperature static as well as the dynamic strain measurements. So when it comes to the higher temperature, it is most commonly used. And when we talk about the ranges, for the static measurement, it can measure up to 649 degrees Celsius, and for the dynamic measurement, we can go up to 982 degrees Celsius. The next material is the isoelastic material, which is basically the nickel iron alloy, plus there are some other ingredients available in it, and it is mostly used in the dynamic test. Now, what are the major properties? It has basically a higher good gauge factor, and it has a good sensitivity where when it comes to the dynamic strain for the small magnitude. That's why they are used for the dynamic strain when the small magnitude is to be measured. But as it has a higher gauge factor, as we discussed in the previous slides, it has a poor stability. The next material is 479 PT. Now when it comes to PT, always remember them, it is the platinum tungsten alloy. Okay, PT means platinum tungsten alloy. Now this kind of material shows the unusual higher stability at elevated temperature. Whenever there are higher temperature, it shows the higher stability. It also has the relatively high gauge factors for an alloy, but still it is a stable one. And a gauge of this material is recommended for the dynamic tests up to 816 degrees Celsius and the static test up to 649 degrees Celsius. So these are all materials for the strain gauges. The very first is the Constantan, which is most commonly used for the static strain measurement. Second one important material is the nichrome, which is commonly used at the higher temperature static and the dynamic strain measurement. And the third one is used, which is the isoelastic, used for the dynamic tests. Okay, so these are some of the important materials that you need to remember also. Now let us talk about the materials for the bonding agents. Bonding agents are what? Which will actually helps to bond the strain gauge and the backing plate. Okay, so they will fix the strain gauge on the backing plate. Why it is important? Very first thing, when it comes to the bonding, it should not be rigid, okay, and it should be flexible. It should not be like that ki one part is going to get more affected and second part is going to get less affected. It should not be like that. All part should be properly bonded together such a way that the strain is distributed throughout the strain gauge, and that is why the adhesive should be good. The bonding agent should be good. So let us check out the characteristic of the ideal adhesive. Very first characteristic, it should be suited to its intended environment. The strain gauge is normally used in the normal temperatures, but whenever it is going to be used in the special environments like higher temperature, higher pressure range, so that bonding agent should be suitable to that particular environment also. The second is it should transmit all strain from the surface to the gauge properly. The third one, it should have the higher mechanical strain. The next one, it should have a higher electrical isolation. The next one is the lower thermal insulation. And the last one is it should be very thin. When it comes to electrical isolation, the adhesive must provide a strong bond with the electrical isolation to the gauges from the surface with which it is attached to, so that the electricity that is going to be provided to the strain gauge should not be leaked from any place. So these are the basic characteristics of the bonding agent materials. Now let us talk about some of the most commonly used bonding agents. These are some of the most commonly used bonding agents. Very first is the Durofix, then after the Eastman 9110, then after we are having Araldite, then ceramic cement is one of the most commonly used one, and last one is the silicone varnish. Other than that, there are numbers of bonding agents which are used. These are the some of most common materials. Now let us talk about the backing material that is going to be used over here. Now what is the backing material? Backing material is the material which is basically used in the bounded type strain gauges, on which the strain gauges are going to be fixed. Okay, so this is the backing material. Now for such kind of backing material, what should be important? Very first thing, electrical insulation should be good, because the grid is going to pass the electrical current which should not be leaked. But in addition to that, it also help to retain the geometrical shape of the grid pattern, and it should protect the gauge also. Now when it comes to grid materials, there are most commonly used grid materials like paper, very first one, bakelite, the fiberglass, the transfer gauge. Other than that, there are numbers of grid materials available, or say backing materials available. So this is the end of this particular lecture. In the next lecture, we are going to check out the circuits that are used in the resistance strain gauges. Till then, keep learning. Have a good day.